So I saw Hereditary again, and holy fuck, I still love this movie. I think that this is my best movie of the year, my favorite movie of the year so far. And in terms of horror movies, this one is definitely one of the best ones I've ever seen. Like, watching it again, I completely fell in love with this movie again for the second time, because this movie is genuinely such an incredibly well-made movie. And I never really get scared at movies, but this one does have moments where I do cringe, and moments that incredibly effectively build up jump scares, which are not real jump scares. They're just moments that make you jump, but they're not like the cheap, like, music stinger, something pops out at you, like, jump scare. Like, it is genuinely incredibly well done in this movie, and watching this again, like, I can't believe it's still held up. Like, my thoughts had not changed watching this again, and I wanted to talk about the spoilers about this really bad, like, because this movie just blew me away, man. It blew me away. First, I'm going to talk about the two moments in the movie that I will never forget. The moments that made me cringe, and I know that eventually I'm going to be desensitized to them if I watch this movie a lot, but for the moment, these two moments in the movie just are incredible. The moment where Charlie gets killed and gets her head cut off with the pole, and you see her rotting head on the ground. That and how it looks, how long they hold on that shot, that legitimately, like, I wanted to look away so much, because I usually don't like cringe or feel grossed out in movies, like in horror movies, but this one just, it affected me so much. I was like, get off that shot, stop holding on that shot of her rotting head. Like, that was just incredible, like, just so incredibly hard to watch. And like I said, I'm not usually squeamish in movies, but that just, wow. And the second scene I won't forget is where at the end, whenever Peter is in the house, just him and his mother, him and Annie, whenever he looks and finds her up in the ceiling, stabbing herself like 30 times. It's gotta be at least more than 30 times. Just keep going. Like that. The look on her face, the sound effect of that squishing noise. Of course, I've never encountered something like that really happening, but that seems so realistic and so incredibly, like, I felt sick to my stomach listening to that noise and watching it happen. And whenever he jumps out the window after he sees the people, you can still hear it happening while he's on the ground from up in the house. That is just incredibly effective. Both of those scenes are incredibly effective. This just, like, those two scenes blew me away. And I love the fact that this movie is basically about Peter, like, but it does a fantastic job of having all these characters, give all the screen time to every character, to Charlie, to Peter, to Annie, to Steve. Like, they all are important, and I really thought that it did a fantastic job of that. But the first character I'm going to mention, wait, before I mention Annie, I want to mention Steve, who I guess is important, but he's not. I take that back. He's not as important as the other ones, because he's the one trying to keep everything straight. Like, he's the one literally trying to he doesn't know what the fuck to do. I mean, he's good. Gabriel Byrne is good, but he's one of those characters where he's trying to keep everything balanced, but it's not working. But I will talk about Annie and Charlie and Peter in depth. Now, Annie, holy fuck, Toni Collette, like, she is incredible in this movie. Like, I've seen her in a couple things, but she just blew me away in this movie. There's two scenes with her. Two acting scenes. Two scenes that further her character. Two scenes that show how far down she is going down this spiraling path to madness. Like, it is incredible. The first scene, whenever she is in the self-help circle, and she told Steve she was going to the movies, but she's going to a self-help circle where she doesn't care, or she talks about it, she doesn't care about her mom, because they were so estranged. And this scene is fantastic, and it's got a great crane shot where, like, it shows the group of people, and then it slowly circles in on her the whole time when she's talking. She never breaks a sweat. This actress, whenever she does these lines. But this scene is fantastic to where it starts where they're in the circle and they say, Annie, tell us about yourself, no pressure. She slowly eases herself in and says, okay, my mother died. I don't know what to do because I don't care. I haven't cared about her. We've been so estranged. And then she mentions her family, how her dad killed herself, and how her brother hung himself because her mom, the grandma, wanted to put people in her brother's head. And that scene works on such a level and how emotional she is driven and how psychotic she is going down this road because of how her mother treated her, how estranged they were, how all this shit has happened to her already where her father and her brother are both dead, suicide. It is incredible with how how the actress doesn't break the scene and how the writing is incredible too, where she says, like, I feel to blame for this, I feel to blame for what happened. And I like that because it shows how much this character does kind of care, but then she doesn't care about her mother. She looks at it from a way of how I've been treated the whole time, how my family has been dead because of her. Just an incredible scene, the first scene of Self-Help with her and everybody at the circle. That scene is incredible. And then the other scene, which is everybody mentions this dinner scene where it's incredible. It's an Oscar-worthy scene. Like, Toni Collette needs fucking recognition in the Oscars this year, and I know that this is a genre movie, so it's probably not gonna get shit, but whatever. I still think this is fucking amazing with her performance in this scene. Whenever Peter and Steve and Annie are at the dinner table, it's after Charlie's dead, and whenever Annie loses it to where Peter kind of eggs her on in a way because they haven't been talking to each other. They've been estranged in a way, so it's like it's happening again with her like it did with her mother. This scene where she screams at Peter and says, like, don't you talk to me like that, you little shit. I'm your mother. If you would have at least apologized for your sister dying, or you have at least mentioned it to me, like, if you would have at least felt something for this happening, like, it's incredible because she's saying all this stuff, like something could have came out of this horrible death, but no, we're just literally quarreling and just being shitty to each other no matter what. And her lines are incredible, and I can't, like, remember them all, like, line by line, but it is incredible. And whenever she finishes, Peter just says, like, what about Charlie, Mom? She didn't want to go to the party because Annie forced her to go to the party. And I really thought that just in terms of the performances and acting in this movie, this is the best scene. That and Annie at the self-help thing, and Peter whenever Charlie gets killed, his reaction just sitting in the car is incredible. But the kitchen scene is the dinner scene is one of the best scenes in the whole movie, and even though the whole movie is fucking amazing anyways, but I loved Annie in this movie, and I loved all of these characters. And then I'm going to talk about Charlie and Peter. Now, you could consider them both kind of the same character in a way. Charlie is this character who gets killed off not long into the movie. She gets killed off because Annie, who had kept Peter away from her mother and had Charlie cling on to her, even though Charlie's a girl, the point of the movie is having Annie's mom get Paimon into the boy because it needs a male form, it needs a male body, and whenever Charlie, like it's interesting because the grandmother clinged on to her because Annie said she kept Peter away from her, which I think was a good thing because it lasted longer for their impending doom, I guess, because if Peter was clinged on to the grandmother, then that means that Paimon would have come quicker, immediately quicker. But Charlie is this character who is marketed as this creepy girl who like does all these weird things, but then you realize that like there's like how it's implied with how she was raised with the grandmother and how she does all these weird things, and like it's precursors to what Paimon is planning and what they're planning to do is to bring Paimon back. And it's just incredible with her, and I love the fact that she gets killed off not long in the movie, because that is one of the biggest surprises I have in a movie. I've been like that is the psycho murder. Like that is equal to that in just how surprising it was. And how creepy the plan is to bring Paimon back to where they have to kill her, because so then it could be Peter, who's the male, who would get Paimon's soul into him. So I thought that was incredible how these two characters work, just trying to become this demon. Like this demon is trying to become one of them, and the grandmother clinged onto the girl character because Annie wouldn't give up Peter. And I really enjoyed that. It's just the idea of an impending doom being timed slower because she didn't let the grandma have him. And the lines in the movie at the beginning, whenever Annie's talking to Charlie, where she's like, your grandmother, like, you're her favorite, like, she wouldn't even let me feed you, she had to feed you, like, which in its own thing is really creepy, like having the grandmother breastfeed the baby. That's not the mother doing it. That's interesting. But I love that. I love how incredibly like unnerving this grandmother was to how this is literally going to lead to the ending. And I thought that it just works so incredibly well with how these characters are like puppets, and which this movie does a fantastic job of building the tension with dollhouses. It never uses them in a full supernatural way, but it's implied, where like the movie at the beginning, the opening shot, slow zoom in into the house, zoom into another little dollhouse, and then it's a room where Peter is. That just works incredibly well. The use of dollhouses is great, and it's not used in a way I thought it would. I thought it'd be creepy to do it that way, but no, it works because Annie is perceiving stuff that's happening in real life and using it to cope, like literally making little dioramas of like Charlie getting beheaded and Peter in the car. Like, it just shows how psychotic she goes down this road. And the use of dollhouses in this movie just works incredibly well. And the final shot, where it is Paimon is born again with Peter and Charlie. It's the final shot of like the little house with just them inside it as puppets, like as dolls. That is such a great final way to end the movie. So this just really, again, just watching this again, this blew me away, and I had to talk about why I felt this way about this movie, because this movie is incredible. It just does everything right for me. Like, I literally can't think of a thing wrong with it. I think that the tension builds incredibly well. There's moments that I will never forget. They're incredibly disturbing. The performances, the drama, the way the story is paced, the way that it has so many precursors to the ending that it premonitions to the end. It is incredible. This movie is just blew me away again, and I can't believe the second time I loved this as much as I did the first time, and it still is incredible. So overall, I've talked too long, but I really enjoyed this movie, and I thought it was utterly one of the best horror movies I've ever seen.